So good morning, everybody. I'm Johnny. Just a quick review of me. I'm from Israel. I think it's the farthest that anyone has ever come to attend this place. In my training, I am an Army officer, an intelligence officer, where I served for about 8 years in the Israeli Intelligence Corps. Then became a consultant for the Ministry of Defense, the Israeli Ministry of Defense. Transferred for a few months for the Department of Defense, your Department of Defense. And then, which is my current position, I am a manager at the Hactics Advanced Security Center, which is a company acquired by Ernst & Young. I think that everybody heard of Ernst & Young. Nobody really thinks of Ernst & Young in this capacity. So what they did is, you know, the American way, they just bought someone. So we're a former military intelligence outfit. We're about 35 guys. I think we're 40 now. Acquired like a year ago. We have all sorts of analysts, guys that do Chinese, Arabic, Farsi, Russian, and Turkish, because there's a lot out there. And you probably are wondering, why do you need all these guys doing all these languages? It's because when we do an assessment, a security assessment, we take it one step further, and that's actually gathering intelligence. And not intelligence that you might have heard of, you know, like vulnerability intelligence. There's a new vulnerability, that's intelligence. That's not intelligence. What we do is we assess and we gather, and we'll talk a bit about one of the tools that we use. It will give you a proof of concept for you to think of how to gather intelligence on the web. So, just a small primer on intelligence. Before we actually go into this, we need to understand that there are several fields of intelligence. This talk is a bit about SIGINT, which is signal intelligence, and a bit about HUMINT, which is human intelligence. Now, SIGINT is what you know as the guy in the middle of the wire, you know, like man in the middle, but in a form or capacity of a nation or state. Somebody listening in to the conversation. It includes, I don't want to go into the details, includes MASINT and ELINT, which is measurement intelligence, and radar intelligence, all the boringest, the most boring types of intelligence. We're not talking about these guys. OSINT, which is open source intelligence, which is actually reading and sifting through media, open media, and understanding what's out there. There's a lot of good stuff in the open source. Not open source, computer style open source. Very different. And there's WebInt, which is a sub-practice of OSINT, which is talking on forums, but not exactly participating. It's a very complex way to say that it's different from OSINT, but when you talk to an intelligence officer, they have to make this difference. HUMINT is the one that we all know. James Bond, that's HUMINT. Working your magic around people. So, let's go to our subject, which is social networking. Specifically Facebook, but let's talk about the most common perceptions that if you work in a corporation or everywhere else, that people believe of social networks. Mostly, mass distraction, right? Well, we don't actually look at it like this. It is more of our dream. You know, we'd like to be in the room the first day that somebody went into the director of the CIA and said, well, there's this thing called Facebook. People actually put their content online. You don't need to find it. They update it. And I love the American way is the fact that the CIA, if it really likes someone, it actually funds it. And one of the initial funding was by the venture capital guys from the CIA, QINT, I don't remember the name. They funded Facebook. They gave it 5 million, 10 million, I don't remember the initial funding. So they really liked it. No wonder. So they really liked it because you got 845 million monthly active users. And when Facebook got its stock altogether, they had to actually show all the statistics that they're actually right. And how much are a fake profile, how much a real profile, a lot of interesting stuff. Now, not exactly the property of the US, but of the rest of the world, or everyone who wishes to buy a Facebook stock. And you can see this data. I mean, it's just amazing, the amount of users. And we're talking about active users, not someone that opened an account and just forgot about it, or unused fake profile and stuff like that. Actually users. So there are a lot of good and bad things that could come from Facebook. A very well-known example is, what's it called, the Arab Spring, and all sorts of venues that have happened afterwards, which is the Syrian Revolution, in which using social networks, a lot of places that are ruled by dictatorship were able to assemble, and the rebels were able to communicate using social networks, and actually one voice could be heard over thousands and millions. You guys probably know this, more of the American way of using it, Invisible Children, the GrrCON 2012, which is also a good way of using Facebook. But of course, we're going to hop over to China, because we need to talk about bad things. And we have a very malicious, I wouldn't say very malicious, but a malicious usage of Facebook, a very well-known one, okay? That China is suspected of actually setting up a fake profile of one of the head operatives in NATO, and actually friending all sorts of NATO officials. And you know, your boss wants to friend you on Facebook, you're going to say no. And they said yes, and of course it was a fake profile. They did not suspect it at the beginning, and they got a lot of open source intelligence on these specific NATO officials. And the funny thing is, these were the guys from NATO that are in charge of cyber. There's, yeah, in Estonia, in Tallinn, they have the CCDOE. I don't remember, a lot of initials. It's about cyber, okay? It was after the DDoS attack, the alleged Russian DDoS attack on Tallinn. They opened the center there, and well, everybody could fall for it. One of the major things is the transition towards Facebook when it comes to jihadist activists. Jihadist activists, or jihadist terrorists, or terrorists that do their activities in the name of God. We're not going to say that specific name of God because it has given rise to a lot of problems during these last days. We can see a transition towards social networking. They gather here and they actually tell you what is the specific target that they're after. It's most common for DDoS attacks. As much as it's not, you know, a very threatful attack vector, it's still something that causes disruption of business. So the real question is, does anyone care? I mean, this is a growing field, and you have a lot of ability to do good or bad. So does anyone think of this? I mean, besides the CIA? So apparently the FBI are very interested in social media, as you might think. And they actually wanted to ask someone to develop a tool for them. So they actually went and did a tender, an online tender, and they asked people to give them, you know, an RFI and ask them, could we develop this tool? And it's all about social media. Of course, well, they kind of missed it because they have kind of high hopes for this tool. They actually want to be able to have a worldwide terror data and a U.S. domestic terror data and a U.S. embassies and consulates and mission. Well, this is not exactly what you want out of Facebook. I mean, that's very nice, but it's like getting world domination by Facebook. It doesn't happen by day and not by a tool. So the funny thing, you know, with open source intelligence, this is a good example, is that someone actually asked them on their site, do you have a tool? I mean, are they trying to bring up their capability or so, something like that? No, well, this is a new requirement for the FBI. We don't, not something we do. It's good to know. We can see it go over into to the legal system. We had a case not that far ago in August where the court ruled that information that was gathered using a profile from someone that actually was a rat, someone that wanted to bring out his friend. He wanted to say all sorts of stuff, and the judge actually allowed it and said that Facebook users may actually decide to keep their profile completely private, share them only with friends, or more explicitly with friends of friends, which means it doesn't really matter if it's private. It's, everybody could see it. And we could use it as intel, or we could use it in the legal system. We can use it wherever we'd like to. So not only intelligence, also the legal system. So what about the private sector? What have they done about it? So if you guys have heard of Aramco Oil, it's one of the largest oil manufacturers in Saudi Arabia. I think it's the largest in the world. Well, most of the oil is there. And they actually reported a breach, a data breach, on their network. And they actually went online with it. And they did it on their Facebook page, very bluntly. They said, well, that's what happened. And, well, not, very vaguely. They later discussed more details, but very vaguely, but it was online. See a lot of people liking it. This is a really funny shit. So once they've published it, I mean, it's out there on Facebook, you know what happens? Their employees start commenting. And you get all sorts of weird stuff that, I mean, is that why my mail doesn't work? And it's kind of a funny way to get, get your acknowledgement on the attack. Did it work? Ah, their mail system doesn't work. Okay, so it's related. And we have all sorts of comments and people giving IPs within the network because the guy that published it was the network administrator. So it was there was the way to contact him. Instead of just dialing, they went online, and it was private. It was private data that went on to the public. Cool. So we have a lot of things that people say about their corporations, and people don't really understand that this is private data, and they don't really understand the problems that they actually cause once they give out private information of an organization. It really helps an attacker understand what is it that you have within your organization. I mean, we have Lotus Notes as well. Okay, I don't go publishing it. So basically, it all comes to the basic assumption. I mean, you do not have a patch for human stupidity. These are Russian guys. Yeah, really. I have in Israel, we got about 1 million Russian immigrants, and there's a huge Russian community. And the guy that I have a good friend, Russian of course, and he said, well, these are Russian guys. And I said, well, how do you spot it? You see the beer right next to that one? This is Kinep. This is a good beer. Only Russians drink it. It's really shitty beer. And of course, this is only a Russian contraption. So, a bit about hype. We're talking about APT. I hate using the word, so we have about 2 slides on APT, which is Advanced Persistent Threat. All sorts of buzz on what it does, and the fact that they have used all sorts of advanced gathering intelligence methods. Yeah, a bit of crap. But let us understand exactly what is it that they're after. I mean, before we're talking about the why, let's talk about how do I find my target? Because this is something that people just dismiss. It's like, yeah, they went out and they just singled them out. They said, Johnny. Okay. And his coworkers. Okay, let's find Johnny. It's not an easy thing to do. I mean, Johnny's not within the management of Ernst & Young. You don't have him online and connected directly to all of his friends. Or the same goes to if, assumably, RSA would have been attacked with an advanced persistent threat. That is a big if. They would have done scoping far less intelligence. So let's just understand. I mean, we're trying to fish someone out, right? Use spear fishing, like everybody likes to say. So how do we fish? I mean, just like I said, we have Johnny as one person. You have the Advanced Security Center, which is like 35 guys and girls. And EY is like 150,000. That's huge. Even the Israeli practice is like 1,700. That's a lot of people. So let's just start with a basic assumption. I mean, my attacker would actually know me. He knows that I work for EY. And let's see, what will he try to do? Will he Google hack his way? Well, that could be an option, but we're talking about Facebook here, and there's a slight problem. You know, if he'd actually use Google hacking, there's a small indexing word that actually prevents it. Yeah, they don't. If you know that once you go to Facebook, when you want to translate something, when you want to use map resources, you always get the most amazing search engine in the world, Bing, which is good for searching Google. So this is a small issue, and you can't really do it using Google. So Google hacking is out. And there's a nice tool called the Harvester, which actually helps you get all sorts of names and phone numbers and Bing research. I don't know why Bing. And it gets a lot of data, but it's not really. It doesn't really help us here because it doesn't have Facebook in it. Remember, most people have Facebook. Not a lot of people have LinkedIn, and you know, it's not something globally. I mean, I talked virtually all over the world, and only in Israel and the US I saw a lot of people using LinkedIn, which is ideal for gathering information and intelligence, but not our case. So, what's the basic answer? So, let's think it over. Ever heard about touch graph? Maybe. It's a basic hyperbolic tree, which means, yeah, I know that doesn't really look all that useful. It looks like an angioplasty or something like that, but it actually has a good representation. When it does the analysis, it looks like this, which for an intelligence officer is a dream. What it actually maps out is the groups within your Facebook profile. It maps out the connection. And in here, you have Hectic's Advanced Security Center. I ran it on my profile, which is great. I mean, you have my officer school here. You got one of the units I've served. You got, you know, university, stuff like that, which is ideal. But it's kind of cheating because I ran it from my profile with my permissions, and I know Johnny because I am Johnny, and it is cheating. So if we look at how TouchGraph does it, it goes through Facebook's API. It's called Graph. You need to have a token, an access token to get there. I actually wrote it down. There's the access token, and every access token grants you a permission for every operation. So it's kind of not the way to go because we don't have permissions. So let's go back to our assumption. If we know your friends, I know you. Everybody knows, you know, the friends. Tell me your friends and I'll tell you who you are. Let's see if it works. So there's my profile page, and my workplace is listed there, right? So basically, it's the same assumption for all of my colleagues. I mean, you could see it here, Ernst & Young, here, Ernst & Young, all over the place. So if we went and do it ourselves, we could actually achieve it. That is a bold statement. As I said, I mean, we have this, we have that, which is the friends list. And within the friends list, we can see other people that have EY in it. But it's slightly different all the time. So it's not really that much of an easy search. You can go through every one of my friends and a friend's friend. And this is done through a profile which is not a friend of anyone. This is not linked to anyone. So it's kind of a simple solution, isn't it? I mean, you just need to aggregate it. You need to search it all by yourself. I mean, it is simple. You see, I found X. So But if we work out, we need to actually be profitable. We need to make it in real time. And if I have 400 friends and above, and the next guy has it, and the next guy has it, it takes a long time, a long time, about 1,300 hours, and that's just looking over the profile and marking it. So it's not really the solution. But let's think of it. This is me. Very good depiction of me. And I have a friend called Alon. And he has a friend called Ofer. I know Alon. Alon knows Ofer. Ofer knows me. Now, for anyone that has studied mathematics, it's called a clique. Okay, it's a closed group. We all know everybody. A clique could be these three, it could be 6, it could be a lot of people. But the main issue is the fact that everybody knows everyone. So it's a closed group. So you're probably saying, what does it help? So we have a tool that we've developed. In a nutshell, what it does, it starts with a profile, a targeted profile, for example, me. And then it goes to my friends. It's an automated tool. It crawls through Facebook. It performs a recursion that it goes through my friends' friends, and my friend's friends, depends on the level that I actually ask him to go to. And it creates an XML of all of these individuals, and then it analyzes the connections. So instead of watching a video, we're going to watch the tool. So this is, this is not a masterpiece of a tool. It's just for a proof of concept. This is a profile. The tool is this one. It looks like a browser because it's based on a browser, of course. Because you remember what we said, that if we use Facebook API, Facebook will shut us down. After free trials, free crawling, they will either give us a CAPTCHA or just deny us access. But this is me, or the fake me, Liat Hermon, which is a fake profile, a woman, no doubt. She has no friends, only 2 friends that are not really related to me. And specifically, what I do is I go and try to find me. Of course, you need an internet connection for that. That's a major issue. As we're waiting, that has to happen, of course. So, let us see. Why does it? Did it? No, we don't. So we're going to watch a video. Yeah. Always have a second plan. So we go through Liat. Liat has no friends. We go and search through Yoni, which is me. Johnny is Yoni. We can see that if you are his friend, so it means that you're not his friend. She's not my friend. So she does start or get friends of friends, get fof. It goes and crawls through my friends, as you can see. And on the right, you can see that it's starting on me. I'm specifically the target. And then it navigates onto Facebook, and it goes on to all of my friends. And you can see here that it scrolls down, because we're imitating a browser. Then you need the scroll down option. You need to invoke that, you find all the friends, and then you manually go through all of the friends. Now I don't care because this is a tool, so it doesn't cost me money. I just put it aside and it works its magic, right? So at the end, while it has crawled through all of my friends, I then take all the data onto a different tool, Facebook Research. it loads all the data that was achieved, was aggregated, and then what it does, it actually has this definition of finding groups. A group of 3, as Alon, Ofer, and me, as you see. And what it does, it actually compares the connection between the people. Has it found the connection? It works its magic, and then once it actually recognizes a group, it says, bingo, found a group. In this specific example, you don't have it, but we'll see what happens, because we do have the process data. At the end, we have a graph that looks like this. You're probably wondering, I mean, that's not, you know, touch graph. Of course, that's not touch graph. But this is information achieved from someone which is not your friend, but is a friend of a friend, okay? And not a friend. I mean, just someone that crawled through Facebook, an unauthorized profile that has indexed all of your friends, because it started from Yoni. You can see that it has all of my friends. We'll take the graph to load a bit. And then if I drill down and I see, and I just click on any one of my friends, I could see a different connection between his friends. But we're interested in these graphs that we could see the connections. We're specifically going after each and every connection between Johnny and his friends from Hactics, from the Advanced Security Center. Why is that so important? Well, the most important thing is that, if I'll go through the examples, it's useless. If I'll go and search on one of the profiles, once I see there's a connection to me, even if I'm not tagged there, or I have one profile on one photo on my profile, it's easily recognizable. If an analyst gets the data, gets the list of all of the group that Johnny is listed in, which is not an open, it's not open data. I mean, you don't go out to the world and say, this are my friends from high school. These are my friends from college. These are my colleagues. These are my colleagues from this place, and so forth. What an analyst would do is once he has this type of data, he knows that, of course it does that, he knows that specifically, it has to do that. Specifically, we can see groups like Stanislav, Yoni, Shai-Hen, Oren, Ofer, and Yara. We can actually deduce that these people are connected together. Because what happens is that in every graph, we have a different part of that group. Why is that? Because not everybody knows everybody on Facebook. I mean, for example, you have a good example that my boss, which is Tal Moses, doesn't necessarily know this guy, okay, Tal, doesn't know or is not friends of these people. But we can have Stas in all groups. So there is a connection, probably work-related. Shai-Hen also in all of the groups. When you look back, specifically if you go and ask Tal, which is a very good question to most employers, he says, well, I don't ask my employees to friend me on Facebook. If they friend me, I approve. But so this is what happens here. You can see it on the graph. This is the beauty of seeing it with free graphs, because if you have touch graph, you have permission to the profile, you have all permissions. That's ideal. But this gives you everyone, people that are not directly connected but are connected, because Tal specifically is the employer of these guys, but he's just not their friend on Facebook. So what an analyst will do is go and sift through the profiles. I mean, Johnny and Tal could have the most hardened profile. You couldn't see a single photo, only the profile photo and stuff like that. And if you can't see the profile photo, just put in his mail on Facebook and click enter and log in. It will give you, are you Johnny? And you'll see the picture. You could see, and then an analyst, knowing who is Johnny, how does it look like, could go through these specific groups. He doesn't need to go through 400 by the power of 400. He has these groups. They're closed groups. This is only a demonstration of close number, but we can get up to 10 individuals in a single group. So if you have this, you could see 30 people, almost 30 people, on this specific graph, all depending on the actual connections between these individuals. And this is all open to the public. I mean, I don't need to be a friend of someone. There are the tools that, you know, if you're a friend of a friend, then you could do something. Liat is not my friend, nor is she a friend of any of my friends. But she was able to sift through and crawl through all of these specific profiles and get all of this specific data. We did not get a single capture from Facebook. The tool to run it, to crawl through it, takes about a week. Okay, a whole week of just running and crawling, just aggregating the data. And Facebook did not do anything about it. Liat is the most irregular or anomalous profile in the world. She has 2 friends, which are other fake profile, and she then crawls through half of Facebook, and nothing pops out. Nobody gives it, you know. The funny thing is, if Liat will start asking friendship, then Facebook will work their magic and say, this is anomalous. But if she just watches profile, I mean, that's okay, you know. So back to our discussion. I'm not saying, at the end, I'm not saying not to use Facebook, okay? Because this is a blunt statement. But when I first started with this, I had a lot of people from the intelligence community that used Facebook. And their main argument was, you know, I mean, I've hardened my profile. You know, nobody could do anything. And they said, well, you know, let us see if there's something else that people could, you know, aggregate on us because we're all hardened. And there are a lot of people in similar positions. I mean, intelligence is just a closed community, but corporate management or finance is your main target as a hacker. Not because I'm Ernst & Young, but it is the best target. A lot of people hold positions that they don't understand how much open source data could be aggregated on them and what are the consequences of it. And just like these little piggies consequencing on whether or not their product, you know, or actually it's given free, but you know, if it's not that one, then you're the product. And yeah, you are being sold. So you can make your choice. I mean, you could stay in or you could opt out. You can't really opt out, but you know, you get my drift. That's it, guys. Hope you enjoyed it. Any questions?